farm boy stood in a simple tunic, rusty knife in his belt, a tall spear at his side. He was feeling strong. The gathering cold of late autumn didn't bother him one bit. Instead, the blue sky gave him hope and strength. The conscript reflected on the fact that he was a peasant, no more. He was now a great warrior for his lord and king. He watched excitedly as the eagerly anticipated great flotilla of ships entered the mouth of the Baekje River on the east coast of Korea. Tens of thousands of men bent to the oars, chanting in unison as the small vessels, which had successfully made the treacherous crossing from Kyushu, made their way up the river. Astride each ship stood proud warriors, clan banners held high, swords punching the air amid deafening cheers. Drums rang out. They were late in the season and had been lucky not to get caught in the autumn storms, but it mattered not. They were now here. Baekje, the kingdom from which Buddha's peace had entered Japan, was an ancient Japanese ally on the Korean Peninsula, but had fallen to an alliance of Tang China and another Korean kingdom, Silla, in 660. Following that defeat, those who could fled to Japan to plan their comeback with the help of the Japanese. This vast army and armada of boats was the result. It was a moment of pure joy for the young conscript as he stood on the riverbank ready to welcome the Japanese reinforcements and the returning Baekje refugees, and above all, his rightful lord, the new king, Pangjang. This king would stamp the seal of peace on their lives and coat it with the blood of the wretched oppressors. The river was filling up. It had become almost impossible to see the water flowing beneath the sleek vessels, they were so numerous. 800, his commander had told him. All the conscript knew that was with such a host they were sure of victory. Everyone was in good spirits. The moment for revenge had arrived. It was October the 4th, 663. The motherland was on the cusp of being restored to its former glory. The flotilla got larger and larger as more and more ships entered the estuary and started to head upstream, but there came a point when they were so jammed together that movement all but ceased. This was the moment the hidden Tang Chinese ships had been waiting for. 170 of them sprung the trap, speeding downriver from inland harbors, raining flaming arrows down on the unprepared Japanese and Baekje Korean vessels. The young conscript watched in horror as his kingdom's salvation floundered and died before his eyes. Then, from the hills behind him came the sound of shouts. A conch shell rang high, then low, the order for cavalry to form up. Hwarang, Silla's renowned cavalry, trained by warrior monks from childhood to revere the law, obey all orders, to love and fight for the death of their comrades and to exterminate their foes. They were said to sooner die than retreat. The young Baekje conscript now saw himself for what he was. No great warrior, a mere mountain peasant dressed in hemp clothing, armed only with a simple spear. It was now he knew fear in his heart. Behind Baekje's dwindling forces, the Tang ship had closed in and hand-to-hand fighting covered the floating battlefield. Surviving Japanese warriors from sunken ships climbed the muddy riverbanks and joined the rear of the conscript's formation. There was nowhere to run from the circling Hwarang. The only hope was the ever smaller mass of men around their king. Then they broke. The few remaining men headed for the safety of the hills as the Hwarang swarmed around them, impaling the fleeing runners on razor-sharp lances. They held out, fighting a low-key guerrilla war for years in the mountains. But after a decade, the dwindling band of freedom fighters knew that all was truly lost. There was to be no Baekje resurrection. Japanese ships again made the dangerous voyage to the continental peninsula to perform the evacuation of their Korean allies and kin. The minister Yeo Jasin, the minister Gwisil Jipsa and others, men and women to the number of over 700 persons, were removed and settled in the district of Kamafu in the province of Omi. As Baekje fell, all those who could, perhaps many thousands in all, escaped to the Japanese islands with the retreating Japanese troops, and in the decades following, they were welcomed and integrated into society and national political systems. Their traces survive to this day in place names, culture, and family surnames. This was a pivotal moment for Japan. No longer would it be intimately entwined with the continent. From now on, it would turn inwards, concentrating on its own affairs, staying well away from continental politics and conflicts. Silla, who soon conquered the whole peninsula, never forgot that the Japanese had supported their Baekje enemies. The relationship between the Japanese Isles and the Koreas had soured, never to regain its former warmth.